In the warm soils of South America, beneath a canopy of broad green leaves, grows a plant that asks for almost nothing and gives almost everything. Its name is cassava, and though few in the wealthy world have ever tasted it, more than 800 million people depend on it each day. It is the third largest source of carbohydrates in the tropics, a quiet pillar holding up the diets of entire continents. To understand cassava is to understand how humanity learned to survive in places where little else would grow. The story begins thousands of years ago, in the basin of the Amazon. There, indigenous peoples first took a wild and bitter root and, through patient generations of selection, shaped it into a crop. By roughly 10,000 years ago, cassava was already being cultivated across the lowlands of present-day Brazil. The plant offered a remarkable bargain. It thrived in poor, exhausted soils. It endured drought that would kill maize or beans, and it could be left in the ground for months, even years, a living pantry waiting to be dug up only when hunger demanded. Yet cassava guarded a secret. In its raw form, many varieties contain compounds that release cyanide, a poison capable of killing. The peoples of the Amazon discovered how to defeat it. They learned to grate, to press, to soak, and to heat the root until the danger was gone, leaving behind a safe and lasting food. This knowledge, carried by hand and memory, was one of the great achievements of early agriculture. When European ships reached the Americas, they carried cassava back across the oceans. Portuguese traders brought it to the coasts of Africa in the 16th century, and there it found a second home. Across the warm belt of the continent, farmers embraced the root that asked so little of their land. In time, Africa became the largest producer of cassava on earth, and the crop wove itself into the daily life of millions, ground into flour, fermented into staples, and pounded into dishes eaten from one village to the next. It traveled onward to Asia, taking root in Thailand, Indonesia, and beyond. Growing cassava is an act of patience and simplicity. There are no seeds to sow. Instead, farmers cut woody stems from a mature plant into short lengths and press them into the soil, where they sprout new roots and leaves. The plant grows slowly, often for 8 months to 2 years, sending its energy downward into swelling tubers. When the time comes, the harvest is done largely by hand. Workers grip the base of the stem and pull, lifting clusters of long, pale roots from the earth. The work is hard, the soil unforgiving, and the roots heavy with starch and water. Once gathered, cassava cannot wait. Within a few days of leaving the ground, the roots begin to spoil, and so they must be processed quickly, peeled and dried, grated and pressed, or cooked without delay. In the modern world, cassava wears many faces. It is the soft flesh boiled and fried in countless kitchens. It is tapioca, the pearls that thicken puddings and float in sweet drinks across the globe. It is a source of starch for paper, textiles, and adhesives, and increasingly a feedstock for biofuel and animal feed. Industry has discovered what villages always knew, that this humble root is endlessly useful. But cassava's greatest role remains the oldest one. It is a food of resilience, a defense against famine in a warming and uncertain age. As climates shift and droughts lengthen, scientists look again to a crop that tolerates heat and thrives where others fail. They breed new varieties, richer in vitamins, resistant to disease, hoping to strengthen the harvest for the billion who rely upon it. There are dangers still. Viral diseases sweep through fields, threatening entire regions, and the poison within demands respect wherever the root is eaten. Yet cassava endures, as it has for 10,000 years, asking little and feeding many. From the rivers of the Amazon to the farms of Africa and the fields of Asia, it follows the same quiet pattern. A stem pressed into soil, a season of waiting, a harvest pulled from the ground by human hands. It is not a glamorous crop. It will never crowd the headlines, but it remains, faithfully, the root that feeds a billion.